Three, two, one. Welcome to Abundance, a podcast program about the abundance mindset. My name is Zhou Fang. I am your host. Together, we will explore the abundance mindset and practice together. Welcome aboard. Hello there. Welcome back to Abundance, a podcast program about the world of abundance, the abundance mindset, and how to practice it. And I am your host, Zhou Fang. Today, we're going to talk about a myth, I think, and it is about self-sufficiency or being self-sufficient. A lot of people kind of like make that their personal goal growing up or as they approach adulthood is I'm going to be self-sufficient. And I think over time, more and more people will say that's actually really hard to achieve. And I think it's a myth. And I do feel that it's under the scarcity mindset umbrella. And because our program is about abundance and the abundance mindset, and I feel we cannot really achieve abundance without talking about scarcity. So today I feel will be a good time to talk about the myth of being self-sufficient. I was inspired to maybe think more about it because recently my partner experienced some health issues, and as a result, I ended up providing more support or care to him the last 3 months or so. And if folks remember, or if you listened or watched the previous episode, actually the first episode, I talked about how, when I was going through a health journey, my partner and my community all showed up for me and helped me through. And to me, that's such a great kind of example of how powerful is village building, right? We talked about that earlier as well, is to build a village, everyone needs to chip in. It's reciprocal. Like not one single person can build and live in a village. I mean, it wouldn't be a village if you don't have people around you. And that made me reflect on, the idea of being self-sufficient. Because when my partner is in recovery for 3 months, a lot of the things that he wasn't able to do or not as easily as he used to be able to do, that required assistance and support and help. And I was able to offer that or provide that. And a lot of people, especially I think men in our culture, I think both in Western and Eastern worlds, the idea of being a man is independence, is to be able to do things on their own. Like even think about my dad, right? Like he has such a hard time asking for help, and he wants to do things the right way, sometimes he'll say, by himself. And he tries to be self-sufficient as well. But we all know, that's extremely difficult and almost impossible, because I think about when he had pretty bad back issues, he got so much support from my family. And something I think I haven't mentioned is my dad has 5 sisters, and he is the only kind of brother in his family. So his parents have or had, 6 children. And so when he was going through his own health journey, all his sisters supported him. And to me, that's such a beautiful illustration of what a village looks like, and kind of like reflect back on our recent experience is, when you are in a relationship, it could be like an intimate relationship, it could be a community relationship, even in a neighborhood, right? The neighborhood you live in, or even the apartment building you are in. It's really difficult to be absolutely self-sufficient or do everything on our own. We will absolutely need support and help at some point in our lives. And that also makes me think about the idea of an able-bodied person or a very ableistic society, where we kind of see disability as a weakness or a flaw, or like something that's like undesirable, or something is wrong with you, right? Very negative, the way we see disability. But the thing is, in a lot of people's lives, being temporarily disabled is very common. Like I was temporarily disabled before when I was ill. And when my partner had his injury, for a very short period of time, he could be considered as disabled, even though it's very short term and very temporary. So the idea of being self-sufficient is also very ableistic, I think. So as a society, I feel we have a lot to do to kind of remove from that myth of being self-sufficient or being able to do everything on our own. And to me, that very much is, again, scarcity mindset driven. Because that makes me feel like it's very isolating. Because if you have to do everything on your own, that's very kind of separates you from the rest of the world kind of feeling. And also, again, it goes back to a very individualistic society versus, when we talk about abundance or village building, it feels spacious. It feels generous. It also feels very reciprocal. It feels like we are in a collective together. And another example I want to give, which is kind of like to illustrate how like we don't have to do everything alone, or we have to claim to be self-sufficient. I recently learned more about the Women, Infant, and Children program in the state of Oregon. So it's a short, in the acronym is WIC, so Women, Infant, Children, which means if you are a new mother or if you are a single father, right? Then, and if you have a young children from 0 to 5 years old, then you may be qualified to this program called Women, Infant, Children, where you can get nutrition benefits. See, every month they give you a list of grocery items, usually essential items. For example, eggs, bread, butter, or what else? Like yogurt, tofu, and things like that, or nuts, right? The essential things that provide the mother and the children nutrition or kind of support for their kind of day-to-day or family life, that can make parents' life a little easier and make the babies and make the toddlers' lives a little easier. That is designed to support family and parents and children in the state of Oregon. And it's a wonderful program because oftentimes we all know, raising a child is not easy and it's not cheap. For a lot of families, having that support is so important. That makes them feel like I don't have to do everything alone. Like the system, the community or the state or the policy is supporting me through my parenthood, is supporting my child, is supporting my baby, so that we can all thrive from the very beginning of the child's life to up until 5, when they are ready to go to school, etc. So I think that's another really good example of, in a collective society, we really don't need to do everything alone or claim to be self-sufficient or even consider that as a badge of honor. It was such a hard time, but I got through it because I'm a very independent person, and I toughed it through and I am self-sufficient. I feel some people probably feel proud of it, and I can I feel that for them, I do. That kind of shows your personal achievement or ability to do things on your own. That is a good feeling. At the same time, it's very much not how human is designed. We are social animals, and we are designed to support each other, to not only survive, but thrive in a community with each other's help, from personal help, from family help, from community help, from policy help, from the whole society, like the city, the neighborhood, the district, the state, and to, federal level, etc. So that is to say, as people, we don't always have to do everything alone, and we don't have to be self-sufficient at all times. So that is the myth about being self-sufficient or self-sufficiency. I hope that resonates. It resonates with me because I have had a lot of personal experience around it, from my upbringing, from my life in the US, and from my people around me. We all kind of share that experience, how difficult or at times impossible being self-sufficient is. And I feel the example of the Women, Infant, Children program is such a kind of strong example of how we can support each other. It can be done. It's doable. And when it works, it's such a wonderful thing for us to have, not only for parents, not only for the children, but for the people around them as well. Because who doesn't want to see a parent and child being happy and healthy? Who doesn't want to see them being supported and growing happily in our society, right? So I hope this episode resonates. And if you do like it, please hit like, please leave your comments and your reflection on, the myth of self-sufficient or just abundance or scarcity mindsets in general. And please share it with your friends and family. Please subscribe and please turn on the notification so that you don't miss our content. And if you feel compelled to, we will really appreciate your support for the program. And we have all the information in the show notes as well. And that's it for today. And thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. And until then, take care.